Hi guys, and happy Monday. And I am back and I am going to talk about the results today, and we're going to go over the conclusion of the results. And then also guys, I'm going to throw a question out there to you guys, and I want y'all to give some feedback on it. And then in my next video we will discuss the post. So let's get started guys, and we're going to talk about the results today. And on general health, it was 0.098. Work life and balance was 0.214. Supervisor support was 0.189. Work life balance support was 0.004. And the conclusion of this, guys, was the study addressed two research objectives. The first objective was to measure and direct impact of work-life imbalance and supervised support on the well-being of mothers and fathers with children under the age of 1. Additionally, we studied the potential moderate role of supervised support on the effect that work-life balance exerts on job well-being for mothers and fathers. Consistent with previous studies on employees' well-being, we found that work-life imbalance and supervisor support positively influence the well-beings of female employees after childbirth. Grice, 2008. But the effect of work-life imbalance on job well-being was non-significant for the men. These results offer evidence of the higher need among employees who are mothers for work-life balance practices in order to increase their job well-being when returning to work after childbirth. Accordingly, a practical implication of this study refers to the location of work-life balance and flexibility debates. Our results suggest that many times such debate occurs within a gender-neutral context and should instead provide encouragement for gender work-life balance practices, which are practical, suitable for a specific life stage, such as returning to work after motherhood. Regarding supervisor support, both men and women needed such work-related support. After the arrival of a new son or daughter, in order to facilitate returning to work, our study showed the relevant role that the supervisor has rather than the firm's formalized organizational practices. Certainly, this finding stresses the relevance of the human factor over human resources practice in addressing the difficulties that parents returning to work face when they have children under the age of 1. This conclusion emerges if supervisor support and work-life balance practices are analyzed separately. Okay, guys, let's talk briefly about this. Um, the way it appears to me that the study is saying that if when you had the men versus the women, the different genders, that it didn't affect a lot with the men coming back for work life and balance, to get that back in perspective, their work life and balance back in perspective. But the supervisor support was needed from male males as well as females. But also work life imbalance for the females. It was kind of hard for the mother after giving childbirth was able to return back to her duties and get that work life imbalance in order. And also she needed that supervisor support also. And so I had a coworker that he stayed off and worked, stayed off from work, and he stayed at home while his wife went back to work. And he was there with his child, and he stayed off for at least, I want to say, 9 or 10 months. And he came back to work, I want to say after 9 or 10 months, after his son was 10 months old. And he took on that role of staying at home. So I asked him one time, I said, how did you felt about being in that role and your wife returning back to work? And he said that it was hard. And he said he see now what women have to go through and the duties that they take on after a woman has given childbirth. And when you still have to do all the cooking and the cleaning and still take care of a newborn. He said, Pam, I'm telling you, it was a hard task, and I have much respect for mothers that has given birth to not just one child, but more than one, and is carrying on that role. And he said, and especially if they don't have the support that my wife had by me insisting that I stay at home and let her go back to work. He said because her job was more demanding, and and that his wasn't, and that he knew he was going to be able to come back to work and to still do his duties, but her job was a lot more demanding than his, and she was in a more bigger role than he was for us the workplace. And so he said, and we discussed it. He said because one thing about it, you have to have that open communication. And he said you have to not beat yourself down and thinking that, oh, a man is supposed to be at work, and while you're at home, sitting at home while your wife is out working. He said they had that open communication, and that was something that they discussed, and she agreed that it was in their best interest for their household that he stay at home until the son got at least 9 or 10 months old, and she would go back to her work duties. And I know he said it was very overwhelming at times. He said, but I made it through, and we made it through that. And he said, so my son is 3 years old now, and he's in daycare, and both of them are back at work. Like I said, he went back at 10 months. So guys, I want to ask you a question. Did you have a spouse that agreed to stay at home while you went back to work? And if so, when you went back, how did you deal with your work life imbalance? And did you have that supervisor support when you came back to work, and when your husband chose to stay at home with your child? And so guys, y'all give me feedback on that, and we will talk about that in the next video, because that's very interesting. Because a lot of times we talk about the women at home after childbirth, but we fail to mention that there are some fathers that is taking on that role as staying at home and also stay-at-home dads that's taking on that role also, that chose to stay at home with their child, and to get them to the place where whatever their spouse decided that we can either put them in daycare now, and I feel, okay, that they will be all right in daycare, or is your spouse still staying at home with your child? And if so, why did y'all make that choice to keep them at home and not in daycare? And so y'all just, give me some feedback, and like I said, we will talk about it in more in detail in the next video of your responses. And thank you guys, and I'm not going to forget the reference this time, so let me get the reference. Thank you.